You ready?
Yep.
All right. Hello, everyone on YouTube. Here we go. Abundance mindset. Ready, set, go.
Welcome back to the Authentic Souls podcast. Is Mercury in retrograde?
It really is. I'm pretty sure it goes out February 5th.
Is anyone else feeling this?
Oh, we just had an afternoon.
Hours of just trying to do what we're doing right now, just to start recording.
Yeah, it's been quite the journey. And, you know, with the title of the episode today being Abundance Mindset, we're like, okay, don't get worked up, don't get upset. This is all happening for a reason, divine timing, blah, blah, blah. But
as we took our little booties over to Best Buy when we should have been recording because we had to get a recording device, but now we are so abundant in a newer recording device. We are so blessed. So we're making it through.
Yeah. And then the SD card thing.
Oh yeah. All I can say is by the time, and give us like 6 months, and we could be like the people behind the phone that you call when something goes wrong with your Zoom recorder. That's what we record on, because you're going to be absolute pros.
Yeah. Plus there's no like place to call for Zoom record. Anyway, it doesn't matter. They're based out of Japan. So it's like, we can be the American version. We're like, hi, you're the problem with your recorder.
We've had everything that could possibly go wrong,
we'll
wrong.
Help you. Yeah.
And we've solved it somehow. So let us help you.
So Mercury goes out of retrograde on February 3rd. So
amazing.
The day after this podcast episode comes out.
And that's when we're recording our next episode. So I love that. It's going to be on its way out.
Thank goodness. You guys, we have an exciting announcement.
Yes. We are officially starting interviews.
Yes.
Next week.
So exciting. This week. We record on the 3rd. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I won't tell you who it is. You have to listen in.
Mm-hmm.
Got to keep you on your toes.
We got some good people coming your way, though. We're very excited.
We have 2 professional photographers, a holistic nutritionist, and someone in the NFT space, because it's just fascinating.
Yeah. We're going to get some different perspectives on here, which is really exciting. Just have some different conversations. It's been something we've wanted to do for a while. And with the new year, it just feels like a fresh start.
It's time to go. We're going on a little trip, on a little road trip.
Yeah.
We'll be gone for like 2 weeks, which feels insane.
It feels insane.
We can do it. We used to live like this all the time.
I know.
And
we're so grounded now that it's like, oh, I have to leave my house for more than like 2 days. That's
what about terrifying. The plants? Oh
my
God.
What about my dogs? What about my plants?
I was thinking about that. I was like, oh my gosh, the plants better be okay. But you just got me that cute little mushroom waterer.
Yeah.
Plug for Blackwater. If you need a cute little plant, what are they called?
I don't know. It's like an automatic watering thing. So you just fill it with water, and when the soil gets dry, just like automatically waters it, which is lovely. I need that for every 500 of my plants.
I know. Blackwater Boutique in San Luis Obispo, or online. Check them out. We love them. Okay, so yeah, stay tuned. I'm pretty sure the next episode is going to be our first interview. So exciting.
So exciting.
But today we are talking about the abundance mindset, which is also so exciting. And I was stoked to be talking about this today.
I think we both agreed it was like the easiest one to take notes on. It just like flowed because it's just so fun to talk about. And like you were saying earlier, it's like it switches your mindset. You like reminds you like, oh yeah, like there are so many times when I kind of get into this like victim scarcity mode, and all I have to do is literally just switch my thinking. And so like you said earlier, when everything was going to shit, like we had no excuse. We had to stay abundant. We had to stay optimistic. We had to stay positive because we're about to talk about it. So we better be embodying that energy.
Yeah. And like you were saying, we're learning so much through these issues. So we're abundant in knowledge now.
Yes. Oh, I love that for us.
And SD cards, like you said. But yeah, no, this is a great topic. I got really excited when I was writing everything. I was like listening to binaural beats and like writing my notes and like tearing up. And I was like, this is going to be so powerful. Like, I'm so excited. So let's dive in. Get a little stretch on. Okay.
By the way, I feel like I need to share this. Last night, I had a dream that Savannah was friends with Lady Gaga. And we interviewed her for the podcast. And I don't know if that's just like a vision of the future, but I thought I would share it with all of you.
I also had a dream last night that I met Ezra, from the lead singer of Vampire Weekend, which is my favorite band.
Did we interview him?
That wasn't a part of it, but at least I was networking.
Yeah, no,
so
I
this
love that.
means we're gonna be running with the big dogs soon.
Yeah, just wait for when we're in LA next week.
Oh shit!
Who knows who we'll run into?
Abundance mindset.
Yeah. Anyway,
walk into our lives. We are ready.
Abundance mindset. So, this term actually comes from a book that I now am gonna like order as soon as we're done with this episode because I want to read it. Curious if any of you listening have read it. It's called The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. And the author defined it as a concept in which a person believes that there are enough resources and successes to share with others.
Awesome. Turn your audio up. Okay. And we're back. Okay. So abundance mindset, it's just really trusting in the universe that you will be taken care of, that things are going to work out best case scenario, and you don't have to fall into that fear or anxiety state that is so common right now.
Exactly. Yeah, it's abundant people are sorry, it's like really loud. Will you turn it down a little bit?
You need your microphone down or your headphones down?
My headphones.
Got it.
Thank you.
Okay.
Sorry, I couldn't focus because I was just screaming at myself.
Okay. Erin, we're starting this section over again. Okay. Okay. So abundant mindset is really just trusting in the universe that you'll be taken care of, that everything's going to work out best case scenario, leaning into the faith rather than the fear. Because it's so prevalent right now that we can all become so overwhelmed and, fall into anxiety and overthinking. And you're just like all these what ifs. But when you have an abundant mindset, you're always thinking of like things are going to be working out best case scenario and all of the possibilities in life. And you just are dreaming.
Yeah. And it's looking at things from a more holistic viewpoint, as we've talked about before. Like instead of focusing on like when things go wrong, instead of focusing on these like minute details of like, oh my gosh, this is going wrong and this is going wrong, you're able to kind of take this like higher arching perspective and be like, oh, but this is what's going right. This is what I'm going to learn from this. Like we were saying, instead of freaking out and being like, oh my God, nothing's working. We're like, we're going to learn so much from this. Like we're going to be pros, So it's just about just shifting the way you think about situations.
Yeah. Each experience can lead to new opportunities, new lessons in life. You may be learning something like us today was a great example of that. So you don't get wrapped up in the small little mishaps. I've been really sitting with things recently and thinking about anything that goes wrong or I'm perceiving as going wrong in my life. I ask myself, is this still going to bother you or is this still going to be an issue in like 6 months to a year? And if not, then you really don't need to worry about it. Just move on. And it's kind of those things too. When you have an abundant mindset, you're really looking towards the future of just having hope and faith that everything's going to be fine. You don't need to get caught up in the minutia of the daily bullshit of life.
Totally. And when you begin to live this way, you kind of raise your vibration. And so when we talk about like manifestation, these are the people that things are like attracted to them because they're living at such this place of high vibes and always looking at, the opportunities. And so things like are very attracted to those people. So you'll notice as you begin to live this way, like things may pop up that didn't pop up before. You'll notice situations that you can take advantage of or opportunities.
Yeah. You become more magnetic and think like a magnet. Things will be drawn to you.
Right.
And that's what's just so trippy about the human existence is how we all really are energetic beings. And the vibration we carry is going to affect like what happens in our day-to-day lives. So if you are, and that's why it's also important to have the mindset of, situations in life. We didn't manifest something quote unquote bad happening to us earlier today because we were at low vibrational state. Maybe we just needed to learn, which I really do believe that's what happened is, okay, we've decided we're going to take on podcasting. Well, then you better know the ins and outs of what's going on. So when you have the scarcity mindset and something happens or a speed bump happens or something you weren't planning on happens, that's when you can fall into the victim mentality where you're like, why'd this happen to me?
Mhm.
What's going on? Like, ugh. And so it's really taking radical responsibility for your own life and understanding like, oh, there's a lesson to be learned here.
Right. And also making an effort to focus on the positive things that do happen instead of saying, every time we try and podcast, something always goes wrong. Right. Like we could focus on that. Instead, if we're like, you know what, like every time we podcast, like I feel really good afterwards, or I feel really satisfied, and like taking the same scenario, but just shifting it to like the positive thing and focusing more on that than the negative. I think that can be huge. And just shifting your whole perspective, just those little things. How can we look at those in a positive way?
Yeah. And it's crazy because you will start looking at life that way, where instead of focusing on the negative, which is a lot of the scarcity mindset, what it has to do with is like you just get caught up in like all the negative things and you just want to nitpick things, and you'll go into a situation and you'll see everything that's wrong with it, or a person and everything that's wrong with that person. When you're in an abundant mindset, you go into a situation, you see everything that's good with the situation, or you try and find, doesn't mean you're, what's the word? I just listened to a podcast on it. Toxic positivity. Doesn't mean you're falling into that route where you're, gaslighting other people's experiences and telling them that they're not valid. It's rather just seeing a different perspective so you can flow through the situation a little bit more comfortably.
Yeah, you're still looking at everything realistically. Like we're not going to say, oh, we had the most perfect day that went flawlessly, nothing went wrong. We're going to say, yeah, things still went wrong, but like at the end of the day, what are the positives, or what can we look at? I'm like, oh, we grew from that. We learned from that. Okay, great. Like we're not going to like say, oh, that didn't happen. Like things were so flawless today. And I would consider that to be more of like that toxic positivity.
Yeah.
I was thinking about earlier when I was writing about this. Have you ever been like shopping for a car? Like I remember when I was shopping for my first car, I wanted a Honda Civic, and everywhere I looked on the road was a fucking silver Honda Civic. And it was like insane. And that's just a phenomenon that happens. And so I think of that like the same thing. Like once you begin to shift your mind to think about something, you're going to see more of it. Right. Yeah. So if you're thinking more, like you said, if you're thinking more about positive things when you see someone, when they approach you, you're automatically going to be, oh, what are the good things about them, instead of falling into the bad things. I don't know if that makes sense.
No,
that really clicked in my brain.
That's a great, symbolism and metaphor to look at this, because it's exactly that, where your eyes are just automatically drawn to what's the most obvious to you. And when you do practice the abundance mindset and kind of move out of a scarcity mindset, which I honestly think don't beat yourself up if you fall into a scarcity mindset. I think that's kind of how we're all trained. And so we're all like rewriting our own programming inside to this abundant mindset. That's a great analogy as far as, just how to see this concept visually. It's like you will start to notice the good within people and situations more and more. And it may confuse other people. They may be, or like, people may be like, I never see a Honda Civic. I never see that car.
Yeah.
And you're like, really? I see it all the time.
If you start looking, I promise you will.
And it's the exact same thing. If you start looking for the positive attributes in people and situations, it's going to make your life so much more enjoyable.
Totally. And a lot of scarcity mindset is like really deep rooted stuff that either we were taught or just the way our society teaches us about ourselves and the world around us. So like you said, it's a lot of deprogramming. Like a lot of these things are really deep inside of us. So again, we're just like training ourselves. It's just like we're going to the gym and we're going to work out this little muscle, and it's not going to happen overnight. But I know just talking about it, it's like a really helpful thing to be like, oh yeah, I need to like get back into like watching my brain, watching my thoughts, and being more aware of how I'm perceiving situations.
Yeah, it's definitely a practice and something you want to hold compassion with yourself around, because you start, like you said, you become the observer of your own thoughts and kind of your day-to-day life, what's coming into your brain. And so you don't want to take full ownership of all your thoughts. You just want to observe them and then decide if this is something you agree with or something you want to get rid of. And if it's something you want to get rid of, then you have to consciously rewrite the story. So this is a very you have to be very involved in your own mental state. You can't just kind of sit back and like let it happen and again become victim to whatever's going on outside of you or internally. You have to say, I'm taking the reins. I'm deciding how my life is going to be and how I'm going to see the world. So you need to set aside time to work on this. And I think it's super fun.
Mm-hmm.
Once you kind of let your ego not die, but kind of take the back seat and say, okay, I know it's hard to admit when you're wrong. And there's this weird, there has to be some kind of chemical like satisfaction that happens within us internally as humans where, you know, I think like gossiping can be just like so fun. And you just want to like talk all the shit about people,
Yeah.
which we still fall into like often.
Yeah.
And then we kind of catch ourselves, or we like create some positive spin at the end where we're like, no, but they're like good people. But like they're fine. Like they didn't mean to.
Yeah.
And I think all of that is, you know, like you're overriding so many just natural human characteristics where you want to fall into what is wrong.
Mm-hmm. Totally. Yeah. And let's talk a little bit about what that mindset is, because we're saying switch your brain to this. So just a few things. Abundant people are generous, they're expansive, they're collaborative, and they believe that change is positive, right? So those are a few things you can kind of start to focus on. Also very like open-minded, very flexible, all of those things.
Balanced, grounded. They are, you know, they just see the most out of life. They're very like relaxed when they're like flowing through their day. There may be a lot on their plate, but they're like, it's almost like I'm blessed to be doing all these things. Like I'm so grateful to be doing all these things.
To be stressed. That's the mindset.
Oh, I have a song for you. If you need a song that encapsulates this whole vibe. Oh, I could sing it right now, but I'm blessed. Yes, we're never gonna stress ourselves. It's a great reggae song that I heard on the radio in Hawaii, and I was like, this is so real. Like we are all way too blessed to be stressed, and even if you have a lot going on, it's fine. Like you are so blessed to be doing all of those things. Like when you make a to-do list, like this is so silly and woo-woo, but you can write a get to do list. Like I get to do all of these things. That.
Yeah.
I don't have to do these things. I get to.
I actually really love that. I think I'm going to start doing that.
Yeah.
Because I love a good to-do list. So we're going to just put a little positive spin on that.
Get to do list.
And I want to just put this little note in as we're talking about like abundant mindset, scarcity mindset. Like this has nothing to do with your financial standing. Like you could be poor with an abundance mindset and you could be rich with a scarcity mindset. It's just how you perceive things, right? So you could have a lot of money in the bank, but you could, you know, be really stingy and never want to like help others that need it, or you're always worried about not getting more. So you're like not wanting to get rid of it, kind of like that hoarding mindset, right? And so that's someone who's rich that has a scarcity mindset. And on the other hand, you could not financially have a lot of money, but like you said, like focusing on the little things, like I'm so grateful to have woken up this morning. I'm so grateful for my family. Like, you know, so that those two things aren't necessarily correlated.
And there's so many things that you can have in life that money, like, yes, you could get it through money, but also you could get it through so many other things. Like I was thinking when you're saying that, our friend Justin, who makes hats, I remember I was talking to him about this once, and it was such a mind shifting conversation, because he was like, you know, look at your life and what do you have an abundance of? Everyone goes, yeah, I'm really glad you brought that up, because everyone does go first to financials. But again, I think this is a part of the paradigm shift where we're not basing our worth off of how much money we have. Like, yeah, money can provide a lot of things and we all need it with the way society is set up right now. But he was like, you know, I live in a oak tree forest and I have an abundance of acorns. Like every morning I go out and I collect acorns. And I'm like, what am I going to do with these acorns? And I just stared at him like, okay. And it took me a long time. And he just kind of was like, what do you have an abundance of? And so everyone can kind of look at that.
Everyone has something.
Everyone has something.
Everyone has something they're super abundant in. It's just a matter of if you're focusing on it or not. Yeah.
And then he ended up making, because he shapes hats, he started making hat accessories with the acorn tips.
Oh, I love that.
And I was like, wow, he is not having to pay for any kind of material.
Yeah.
So that's just like a great little example that Justin gave, where it's like, if you look closely enough and attentively enough, you will find something that you are abundant in.
And it could be like a personality thing. Like I know people that are so generous, and that could be like with their time, you know? And so someone that like gives you a bunch of their time, just sits down and listens to you, you know, it doesn't have to be material things also, but what are those things that you're really abundant in that you can give to others or give back?
Maybe you have a super open heart chakra and you just like give so much love. So that's what the world needs right now, is just love. To help, the world heal, help people. When you give a small compliment or you go out of your way to say something that you feel really deep down, but you're like, oh, I'm too scared. But those people who just like outwardly share their love with the world, that is something I hope we can all become abundant in.
Yeah. I think abundant people understand that whatever they give, or whatever, am I saying that right? Whatever they give, they will then receive. There's like this like circular flow to things. So it's never like, if I give you something, I'm going to be missing something. It's like, I'm just going to get it back somehow. So I'm just going to give it to you and it's going to come back. And I think with the opposite of that would be like, oh, I gave something to you. Now there's a part of me missing, or a part of something that I don't have anymore. And so I think the difference between those two things.
Well, you just perfectly described the heart chakra. So it's funny I brought that up. It's like, it's literally the energy center where you give and receive love. So you're not afraid that it's going to run out. There is a infinity amount of love. Like you don't have to worry about things running out. And like we were talking about earlier, this is the pie analogy. So we all can have a piece of pie out of the pie. We all get one little slice,
like a collective pie.
And if you were in the scarcity mindset, you would be like, oh well, there's only 8 pieces of pie, so I'm gonna just like hold all of it because we're gonna run out and I don't want to share my pie. But if you have an abundance mindset, you'll be like, wait, we can make more pies.
We can just make another pie. There's always going to be enough pie for everyone.
If more people need a slice, let's just go make another pie.
We'll go bake another pie. It's not a big deal.
Because you're trusting in the universe and the earth to make those resources, and you're going to be okay.
Exactly.
And if we all thought like that, things would shift so much more quickly. But again, we'd live in an inherently scarcity world.
It's so true. With like so many different aspects of our society, it's like, it's kind of sad because we all are like led to believe it and just fall into that fear so much. And it's like, we live in a society of like, it's you versus me. Like we're all in it for ourselves. Like we don't live in a place that thinks of things as the collective and like, what do you need? This is what I have, I always think about like, I low-key wish we still had like a bartering system. Because that makes so much more sense to me. It's like, oh, like I have this, you have that. Like, let's all share.
Again, I have an abundance of this.
Exactly.
What do you have an abundance of?
Yeah, not everyone has money, but some people have time. Some people have the ability to do certain skills. Like, it just makes so much more sense. But
I know I was watching this Vice News segment on YouTube yesterday, and it was someone in like North Bay, like Marin County, and he was a super successful dude, business guy, and he was talking about, there's more and more people suffering from just like they were living on boats. And so they want to get everyone off the water and out of their boats. And then they're not going to have homes anymore. But he literally was like, oh, those people just like don't work hard enough. And it's like, dude,
that's such a closed-minded way of thinking about things.
Again, and it's such a like scarcity mindset and just like thinking your worthiness is based on money. It's like, oh, these people aren't worthy of being here because oh, you don't work as hard as me. Oh, that sucks. It's like, no, dude, they're working on their boats. They've chosen to live an alternative lifestyle, and you choose to, which is great. Like, play the game. That's all he's doing, and he's playing the game really well. Those people were like opting out of playing the game, but now he's like saying they're like not worthy to be there, and it was just like, whoa.
That's major scarcity again. Just because you're rich doesn't mean you have an abundant mindset.
He has a major scarcity mindset. He's like, get these people out of my vicinity. I don't want to look at them. They're gonna take resources from me. There's not enough to go around. But it was such a clear example of that where I was like, wow, boy, they.
Well, let's talk about scarcity mindset. Let's talk about the opposite of abundance mindset.
So again, withholding or hoarding because you're scared something will run out. So as far as that man, he's hoarding land. He's hoarding like space to live because he's like, oh, it's mine. I need all of this to live and you need to go somewhere else.
Basically, like if someone else wins at something, someone else is successful, it means you lose.
Mhm.
It's not like, oh, we can't all win in some way. It's like there can never be a win-win with scarcity.
Yeah, where it's like, oh, they can live here and they can choose to live in their own way,
Mhm.
and I can live here and choose to live in my way. It's like, nope, like you got to go.
Yeah.
Because you're not playing by my rules.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
nasty. So, so you can be jealous of what others have, and again, be afraid that they're going to take, if they win, it's going to take away from you, like you
Mhm.
said.
Yeah. And I think it's like comes back to the victim mindset of thinking that things are happening to you and not for you. And so
Mhm.
instead of looking at things of, again, the bigger picture, it's like kind of staying in this like, oh, well, I'm the victim and everything's happening around me and I have no control, and it's
Mhm.
like just staying in that kind of like low vibrational place,
Yeah.
which is a super draining energy, not only for that person, but everyone else around them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Being fearful towards life. So, just being scared of like what's going to happen to me next.
Mhm.
Like looking over your shoulder and like not just trusting in the next day that's going to happen. You're just like
Yeah.
freaked out by your reality and what's going on around you. And like, we're all here. We're all here already, which is just crazy to think about. Like, again, when you start getting more in tune with your existence and how like bizarre it is to be human and to be alive and to be connected to the space and time, and we chose to incarnate during this time, and you're like, why me? Like this, you can get really scared with what's going on in the world, and so you can feel a victim to yourself, to your own soul incarnating during this time. But once you take, again, radical responsibility for your own existence, you're like, okay, I'm going to trust that I'm here for a reason, for
Mhm.
a purpose, and I'm going to handle my shit.
Yeah.
It's going to be a lot harder than I thought it was. I'm going to have to put in more time, especially when we were brought into a system that does not set us up for success.
Yeah.
So, again, that's why we're talking about these things, because we hope that with everyone shifting a little bit more with their mindset, we can all become more autonomous and sovereign in our own beings and who we are as people. I'm becoming emotional because it's like, this is so important.
Yeah. Yeah. It's like the cornerstone for so many other things that we talk about. Kind of like, it feels like the confidence episode. It's like very similar. It's like if everyone just held that confidence in themselves, and yeah,
What kind of world?
So much could change.
What a beautiful world we would start living in.
Yeah.
I mean, it's already beautiful, but like, again, I used this analogy before, which doesn't truly fit, but it's like living in Disneyland. I know that sounds so silly, but when you're 5 and you had this like dream idea of what Disneyland is, and it was just the most magical place, it's like, what if we applied that everywhere? Or if you've been to a festival and you know how good being at a festival feels, but you have to pay freaking $600 to get in, and you're like, all right, like this was a fun 3 days, but like, what if every day was a festival where we all felt so connected and we were all just vibing and like stoked on life?
Everyone's just meeting each other, like loving each other. Yeah.
Like, what do you do? Oh my God, that's awesome. Let's go dance.
Yeah, come dance with us.
Let's go eat delicious food and be in community and like just all of that. And then we all go back to our like super individualistic lives where it's like, back to business. Play it safe throughout your life, because you do not believe that whatever you're dreaming can get done. You'll think that you're thinking outrageous thoughts, that's just play it safe, because you can never achieve those things.
And change always seems to be a negative thing rather than a positive. Oh, things are changing. That's uncertain, that's unknown, that's fearful, and that sort of thing. Also just really competitive. Again, it's like a me versus you attitude versus like we're in.
Yeah. And as we say all of these things, like I can relate to every single one of these bullet points on some level in my life. Like we have not mastered this. I mean, we practice this on a daily and we have to remind ourselves these things. But like, I remember when we were going through huge shifts last year, like it took a lot in me to trust. And there was times when I didn't trust and I was like, fuck this, like everything's turning to shit, like I can't handle this.
Yeah, it's so easy to like look at other people and compare yourself and be like, well, I should have taken that path because they seem to be doing great. I don't know what I'm doing over here. I'm thinking I could do something different.
Dumb piece of shit. No, but honestly, and I know Danielle and I have talked about this. I don't know if I've said it before on here, but it's crazy the way you will talk to yourself. Like what I just said, you're a dumb piece of shit for making the life decisions you made. Who the fuck do you think you are? Like that internal dialogue is so negative. And I can fall into it at times, but then I'm so used to this like perspective shift and that I will look at myself on the other end of the spectrum and be like, you're being ridiculous.
You don't actually believe that.
You're actually the shit and you're a bad bitch and you got this. So you're fine. But
don't cry.
Those anxious thoughts can, flood your brain. You start convincing yourself things are going to work out. You're only going to focus on what's not working. You're going to become really tense in your body and just your existence. You're not, again, when you're tense, it's literally the opposite of flowing through life. And people with an abundance mindset are just going to flow.
Right. Exactly.
Oh,
so let's talk about how let's implement this. How are we going to bring a more abundant mindset to our day-to-day life? I mean, the big one that we've been talking about is just learning to recognize your thoughts, holding that mindfulness, and learning how to switch things when things go a little off the tracks.
So yeah, treat this like a muscle in your body, but this is a muscle in your brain. So know that it's not going to be an immediate shift. Like, when people start working out, they think it's going to be like this immediate transformation of their body. Like, no, this is going to take time for your muscles to change or for your body to change. It's the same thing with your mind. You're going to be strengthening this muscle little bits at a time. And I feel like every time we go to sleep, we wake up and it's like, okay, like restart. Like your brain does this weird restart where it's like, you could be practicing all through one day and you have one amazing day and you're like, yeah, I'm doing it. I feel so good. And then you wake up the next day and those intrusive thoughts come and you're like, okay, like I have to practice again.
It's the consistency and like showing up for yourself and not letting yourself fall back into these old patterns and like, no, I want to be better. I'm going to like keep focusing on this. But yeah, it's definitely a process for sure. So as much as you can to just keep doing it when you remember. Also just gratitude. Gratitude is huge, whether it's gratitude journal, if you're jotting things down every day, if you are starting to spiral a little bit and getting into this negative space, thinking about 5 things you're grateful for. And they could be the littlest, tiniest things, like or like make an abundance list. What are you really abundant in? Like focus, again, switching it over, focus on the same situation you're in, but instead of focusing on all the negatives, what are the good things? I know they're there. You might just not think about them.
And it can be so frustrating when you're in the moment and you have to hold yourself accountable and you're like, okay, but like, what's good? What's going on that's good?
Yeah.
And they're there, I promise you. You may not be able to recognize it, or you may be blinded by the frustration,
the emotion.
And so that's why this is a practice. Real life application is going to be where you learn how to like really practice this. So gratitude is super important, focusing on the positive things, like writing them down. I think that's the first step. And then once you go out into the life, go out into your life, that's where you start implementing. And that's where it's going to feel so much more real and so much more frustrating. And I think there is a period of time where you almost become more frustrated because you're like, oh, I'm so peaceful when I'm by myself. I'm so zen. And then you're
like, I'm fixed. I'm perfect now.
Yes. And then you go out into the world and you're like, oh, fucking bitch. Like,
for me, it's driving. Like I can be so zen, but for some reason I get so mad at other people driving and I have to like remind myself, like, be nice. It's fine. Everything's fine. You're in traffic. Not a big deal. This is exactly where you're meant to be. But I'm like,
what is the lesson? What is the positive?
Yeah.
Like maybe learning to just be present in the moment and not, speed through life. Literally, you're not even a speeder. You're not even that fast of a driver.
I'm just like, I cuss a lot when I drive. Fuck.
But you're
God
like,
damn it.
It makes you sound like you're such like a fast-paced driver in person, but you're so like safe. You're like such a safe, normal driver. No, you're like 100% fine.
That's fine.
So yeah, notice all the positive things, the good things. Just try and list them. Again, we're not trying to push toxic positivity. That's not what this is. If something goes wrong in your life, you were allowed to sit in it. You were allowed to wallow in it, but not forever.
Yeah.
And the goal is to eventually, and again, that's why you have compassion. That's why you have patience with yourself, is to shift out of these situations a little bit faster each time. And like, I know, I have so much resistance over like insurance and taxes and all that stuff. And I'm like, God damn it. And it's that time of the season and year, and it's aggravating, and I get so worked up emotionally and I hate it. And then every time like I've had to make a phone call or do something, it's like the most simple process. And I'm like, oh.
And then you get it over with and you're like, that wasn't that bad. After like stressing about it for like 4 months.
But in reality, what are the positives that the situation is bringing me? There's so many positives to focus on, and I'm just choosing, whether it's consciously or subconsciously, you know, with how I've been raised and trained to focus on the negative.
Mm-hmm.
So again, that's when I have compassion and I'm like, switch that perspective, sweetie. Even though I want to punch myself in the face because I'm like, shut up. You don't know what you're talking about.
We're just human. Not perfect.
Nope. It's part of the evolution, is reprogramming all of these weird nuances that we've all been programmed with.
Yeah, taught.
Yeah.
I think one of my biggest things that I've consciously been trying to reprogram, that I learned about when I started learning about abundance mindset, is just literally, it's not even switching your thoughts, as simple as switching your words that come out of your mouth.
Oh, I love
How
this.
are you talking about things? I know when Savannah and I were in our like big dreamer phase, which will always be in a big dreamer phase, but when we were younger, we'd always be like, oh, I can't wait until we have whatever, our house, our successful business, whatever. Oh, like, I just wish that I had this. And how we would talk about that, it was like, so like, it wasn't good. And I remember someone telling us, like, you need to switch your words. Instead of saying like, I wish I had, or even like, oh, I'll never have that, say when I have, and just simply switch those words.
I'm excited for when.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
I'm so excited. And if you ever,
it changes the energy completely.
Well, it's the whole idea of the word spelling. Spelling. You're creating a verbal spell that you're putting out into the universe. We're getting real witchy up in here, but like that's the definition of the word. Or if you think about it in a vibrational frequency state, it's like you are putting out frequencies and you are creating a karmic loop with whatever you're speaking out into the world. So if you're saying, I can't wait, you're like, okay, well then you're going to keep waiting. But if you say, I'm excited for when, you're like, ooh, that excited feeling's coming, and that thing is coming towards you.
Yeah, you can feel the energy when you say those different things. They're different. Like one of them is like, you feel more confident when you're like, when I do this, when I have this. It's like this trust and knowing that we should have.
The abundance.
But we feel silly in the moment of like, well, I don't have that, so I shouldn't say it. But it's like, you just kind of embody a different energy when you talk that way.
Yeah.
So that's something that I've had to work on and still working on, but I think it's really powerful.
That's where the observation of your thoughts comes, or the way you speak comes in handy. I know there's certain friends, again, we've talked about her before, Kaya. She's very in tune with the way she speaks. And when you're surrounded by other people who start to live this way, when you're speaking, you'll catch yourself and you're like, oh, I didn't mean to say it that way. And it's okay. And I think it's really a positive trait to then retrain the way you've said something, or to, you may feel like, oh, I've already said this, I don't want to say it again. But it's good for your own brain to like course correct and be like, actually,
that's not what I meant.
This is what I meant, And if you have other friends who live like that, you'll start to like think that's funny and cute because you're like, oh, they caught themselves.
Don't sound like that.
Or sometimes, we'll do it for each other. I don't think we've done it recently because we're pretty good at it now, but I'd be like, no, don't
say that.
You're excited
that's
for when.
You mean. Literally.
So this mindset shift, when you start thinking in an abundance way towards life, it will literally change the way you look and show up to your life. Things will just become more light. I want to say like brighter. Like I swear, like colors become brighter. Things become more exciting. You're more stoked on your life and your day-to-day things.
Again, it's like the car thing, right? You're noticing things more. So you're going to notice those beautiful moments. You're going to notice the things that you didn't notice before. It's just all about shifting that mindset.
Yeah, rewrite the narrative. Anytime things go, wrong or negative, or you're falling into a scarcity mindset, take a pause. Again, this is where you have to take responsibility for yourself in your own thought process. And you're going to have to take some time to work on this. If this is a priority for you, working on yourself and working on the more shadowy aspects of life, like you have to separate and create space to do this. So you have to separate from people. Maybe you have to spend some more time alone. You have to sit with your thoughts, which is all things that people don't want to do. And they want it to just like happen immediately. this again, it's like working out. It's going to be a practice, and you need to take time and space and dedicate energy towards this thing.
Yeah. Okay, I have another good one. A little action step.
Love it.
Celebrate not only your own, which you should be doing this, you should be celebrating your own successes, but for me, when I get into the scarcity mindset, if I see someone else that's successful at something, it can be I can get really hard on myself. I'm like, well, why am I not doing that? Like, why have I not, succeeded in this way? But if we're celebrating that person, it's like, yay, we're together. You're successful. I'm going to be successful. We're all going to be successful. Instead of it being like, oh my gosh, well, what am I doing? And making it be a negative thing for yourself, because it shouldn't be, especially if it's someone that like in your life, either a family member or a friend, like we should all be celebrating each other's successes.
100%. Yeah. And it's like, again, for anyone who listens to this, or even if you've gotten this far, congratulations. So proud of you. But I know a lot of people as far when they think about working on yourself and shifting your mindset and the woo-woo kind of aspects of life and looking at things a little differently. In our culture, we are just programmed to see those people who want to do better as like tryhards, or like kind of like it's like a laughable topic. But when you were saying that, the first thing that popped in my head was Mean Girls. Like we were all raised on a movie, not everyone, and if you haven't seen it, I guess it's but movies like that do we have where girls are actually like supporting one another. That is literally a movie based on scarcity mindset and tearing each other down. And so of course we're having to rewrite this, because it's like goody two shoes, or like it's like cool to be mean and to be in that scarcity mindset. So as you were just like, damn, like we have a lot of work to do collectively, individually. I think it's just like focus on yourself, and your outward world will change. Well, that was a mouthful. But it's just so interesting how
it's interesting how deep and how far these things, like you said, it could be from your childhood, it could be from your parents, it could be from movies, it could be from entertainment. Like these things are coming at us from all over. So who knows what has like stuck to us and like rang as true, like subconsciously over the years, that we're like, that's the way things are done. Like, and so it's like, undoing all of that is like no easy feat.
Like when is being kind going to be cool?
Yeah.
And like caring, it's like that'll be a life-changing moment for everyone, and just for the human existence, when we start to value. And I think we're leaning into that direction right now, where it's like making fun of people isn't going to be cool anymore. It's going to be like, how much do you care? How much do you love? How much do you encourage and cheer on other people? Like you said, it's like, let's be competitive about that.
Like, who is the nicest?
Oh, it's true. I mean, there's a couple times when I meet like super nice, heart-centered people, and I'm like, man, like, I need to practice more of that. Or and it's hard to not beat myself up and be like, why aren't you like that? Like, why aren't you them? And it's like, no, like they are meant to be in my existence right now to teach me that, you can expand your heart a little bit more and open up and be a little more kind and compassionate.
If they can do it, it's just an example to show me that I can do it. It's not like I can't do it because they do it.
Yep.
It's not the way things work.
We're all mirrors for each other.
Exactly.
So I guess I wanted to talk about like why this is so important when it comes to manifesting, because you don't have to, but if you're expecting to manifest and call things into your life that you've dreamt of, or that, that you dream in, or when you're dreaming big and you're like, oh, what if I did this? What if I did that? You cannot do that successfully if you are coming from a scarcity mindset, because you're going to believe that, like, who are you to think that? Slow your roll.
Yeah. You're not worthy.
You're not worthy. It's not going to happen. So like, stop doing it. But if you have an abundant mindset, you're going to believe that these things are possible, and you're going to start making action steps towards that thing. And then when you start, thinking of yourself, or thinking of the situation through an abundance mindset, your frequency is going to change. The way you are, what you're being, your energetics are going to change. And then again, like we were saying, you will become more magnetic for these things to come find you.
Yeah. Have you ever met those people that just seem to like attract things? Like, that's what we're trying to achieve here. And you can get there. But yeah, again, it's like showing up and embodying that energy every day. And those things are going to match you because you're meeting them where they are, you know? So yeah.
You want to attract things into your life. You do not want to have to go out and chase, because when you're chasing something, you're coming at it from scarcity, because you're like, I gotta go get that thing because it's the only one that's gonna fit my match or be a match for me. And if I don't go out and get it, it's not gonna come to me.
Yeah. And then if they don't get it, it's like, oh my gosh, well, this is the end of the line. There's nothing else out there for me. Instead of staying open-minded and being like, well, that wasn't the thing for me because I didn't get it. It wasn't meant for me.
Yeah. Rejection is protection. I often use that, term. It's like, if something did not work out, or if someone did not work out, or if a situation is not going the way you thought, that is okay. And that is how it is meant to be, because you were calling in something better, this or something better. That's also what I say. It's like, if it's not the thing that you wanted, you will get that thing, or it will be something better, but maybe this wasn't the time.
Yeah. And if you stay, another thing is non-attachment. If you're so attached to things and hold such high expectations, or not high expectations, but specific expectations about how something is supposed to be, that's the best way to like ward off the good things. Because you're like, I don't want that because I want this little thing right here. And it's like all the better opportunities are like, okay, we'll keep moving.
And that's a part of the trusting in the universe. It's like, you are not smarter than existence itself. You are just a part of existence, and whatever you have going on in your own brain, you can give out a desire, and then you just kind of have to, like, it's an ebb and flow. It's a dance with the universe. You see what is brought to you, and then you get to say yes or no.
Yeah.
But it doesn't mean that. And so by doing that, you just have to be open and abundant and excited for the future. You cannot sit back and be scared of your reality and what's going to happen, because you will get stuck in a karmic loop. And when you think of life like a game, that's when it gets really fun. You start to think about, if you look at life in a scarcity mindset, or you look at lack, or you look at what you don't have. And I think, like, again, what we were saying, those are key moments to switch your perspective into something along the lines of, like, what is the lesson to learn here? So when you learn that next lesson, you will hit a new level. But if you choose not to find the lesson in something, you will be stuck in that karmic loop.
You're going to be hit with this just different problems that have the same solution that you're not willing to see until you finally are like, oh yeah, that's what I'm supposed to learn out of that. Yeah.
But when you start learning those lessons, then you can switch your perspective on the situation, and you will learn to find gratitude for the thing that happened to you, or the person that came into your life, or the situation that's going on.
Yeah.
You're going to be like, oh, this is happening, so I could learn this. You're going to actually go, thank you, universe, and my human experience, because if you believe in the soul evolution, and you believe that you're here to evolve your soul and raise your vibration, this is just like all a part of the third dimensional existence.
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh,
anyway,
does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay.
It does.
It's real. It's real. It's like you have to be an active participant in your life to achieve the things you want.
Yeah.
It's the paradox. I use that word every episode. Show up to your life, but at the same time, just attract it. Chill out. Show up with action, but at the same time, chill out and let things come find you.
Yeah. Don't work too hard.
Yeah.
Don't be a tryhard.
No.
Universe doesn't like a tryhard.
You're really good at, though. You're so good at, like, letting the things come to me. Like,
me?
Yeah. I feel like with people, that's like your MO is like,
yeah, you come to me. I'm like a cat.
Yeah.
I'm never going to approach you.
And I'm like diving head first.
You're like the golden retriever that's like, hi.
Yeah. So we're all trying to find our balance, because,
we're all doing the best we can.
Golden retriever energy can be way too high strung, and cat energy can be way too detached. So
yeah, gotta find our balance in things.
The cat dog.
Yeah. Just become a cat dog.
Do you remember that cartoon?
Yeah.
Yeah.
What a weird concept.
It was pretty creepy.
Yeah. All of those cartoons. What was that other one? It was like the Cowardly Dog.
Oh, the little purple dog. Yeah.
That show was, who designed that show for kids? That was fucking weird.
Again, I swear that's programming. Like, unless they just had a really creepy ass cartoonist who's like, I'm gonna make a really demented show for children.
Yeah.
So they can be really freaked out about their existence and life, and like not really know what's going on, but just it's gonna
soaking it up like little sponges.
It's just gonna make you feel weird. It's like, wow. when you could make something that makes them feel so good and teach them like things that are going to actually be helpful in life.
Yeah. I don't know.
Maybe that's our next venture is cartoons.
Oh, great. Can't wait. So once we figure out this recorder and how to use that, we're going to figure out how to make animations.
We'll reach out to Cartoon Network because
we got some ideas
we have
for
some
you.
ideas. So, yeah, the last thing I have written down is, visualize and embody what these feelings are going to be like of abundance or of gratitude. Like feel those things in your body. So when you want something, or if you like, I don't know. Okay, very simple example, but I'm stretch this example as big and wide and dream as big as you can. But for my example, I'm going to say I want tacos for dinner. And I don't have a plan of eating tacos. I don't have the ingredients for tacos, but I'm going to sit here and I am going to embody what it feels like to eat the taco and to what's it going to feel like? How good am I going to feel? Like I'm going to embody the feeling now, because whether that brings a taco magically to my front door, then that's amazing. Or maybe it inspires me to take action to like look for a taco, like the ingredients to make a taco in my kitchen. Whatever it is, that's super important to embody the feeling. Yeah. It's all about embodiment. If you want something to happen or change in your life, you need to embody it. So embody the abundance mindset.
Yeah, and I think an easy little practice is like, think about a time that you took action from that mindset and what did it feel like versus, we all inevitably make decisions based from a scarcity mindset. You can feel the difference. You really can. So just think about like those two different situations and what are the difference in those? Like,
and what does it feel like in your body and how it lights you up internally? Like that internal light starts to shine a little bit brighter.
Yeah.
And then practice that feeling. It is super important to write it down. And I think that will get things started. But the embodiment, I just can't say it enough. It's so important to become, again, this is why using your higher self is also such a tool. Like we talked about a couple weeks ago, is this person is embodying the abundance mindset. That's why your
higher self
open.
Is like the ultimate example for you for abundance mindset. She's like killing it.
So we want to try to achieve that energy and that perspective.
Exactly.
So just have faith that everything is working out on time. You do not need to worry about things outside of you. All you need to worry about is yourself, getting yourself right, getting yourself in tune, and that the appropriate things will find you when they're meant to find you.
And what are you already abundant with? What do you have a plethora of in your life already?
That's the number one question or statement I want to point out from this episode is what are you already abundant in?
Focus on what is you're already so grateful for in your life.
What are you so blessed to have already?
Yeah.
That maybe other people don't have, or maybe they do have. Maybe, who knows?
Yeah. Because the whole point is that we're not always wanting more. Because I think that's with the abundance mindset. It feels like, oh, we're always getting more. We're always getting more. When in fact, we're so happy with where we are always that we attract more. But we're never. How do I say this? Like
reaching outside of ourselves.
Exactly.
It's the magnetic energy again. Things will whoop, whoop, whoop. They're going to come to you and come stick to you like a magnet.
Exactly.
So they're like, ooh, good vibes. Yes, please.
Yeah, I love that little good vibe magnet.
Yes.
Be little good vibe magnets this week.
Yeah. So one more thing I want to leave you with is just a couple of abundance affirmations, because in those moments when you do feel low or in scarcity and you can't seem to shift it, repeating statements, you can Google them, you can look them up yourself, but I'm going to give you a couple that stuck out to me. So the first one is, I'm worthy of what I desire. I surrender to the wisdom of the universe. I attract money easily and effortlessly. I always have enough money. I am grateful for money. I am open to respected opportunities. I am capable of achieving greatness. I am loving and lovable. And I am strong, brave, and confident.
Love that.
So if you're ever feeling down, play those, look some up for yourself.
Yeah.
Write down your favorite one.
Look at it every morning.
Yeah.
Repeat it to yourself if you need to.
Another one is
Yeah.
I am enough. A couple years ago when I was really tapping into coming out of the scarcity mindset and into the abundance mindset and loving myself fully for whatever state I was in, I realized how much, this affects every single person. We are not alone with our thoughts or alone with how feeling low or, having negative self-talk. And I watched this TED Talk where I forget who it was, but they were talking about, the simplest statement is you are enough or I am enough. It will most likely help you move through whatever you're going through.
Mm-hmm.
And she was like, write it as a little post-it note on your mirror. I wrote 26. I don't know how many I wrote. I wrote 20, and I was living with my parents at the time. I went through the entire house. I put one on every single mirror. So my dad saw it. So my mom saw it. So my sister saw it. It was on the computers. It was on the TVs. Like, you are not going a day without noticing that you are enough.
I love that.
So we will leave you with that.
You are enough. Thanks for being with us this week.
We support you. We are here for you. And I hope you got something out of this episode.
Yeah. We'll see you next week.
Bye.
Bye.